I'm calling to order the Supervised Release Committee meeting for Monday, June 27th, 2022. And first we want to establish if we have a quorum. So I will call the roll. So we have DHS representative Angie Serwa and Kristen Keel.
Here.
And we have our GIS representative, Adam Dorn.
Yes.
And we have our DHS representative, Dr. Bill Topol.
Here.
And we have court counsel representative, Mary Ann Miller. Is there anyone else? I don't think so. We also have attending Sheriff John Motz and Deputy Todd Christie. Deputy, Captain, sorry, Captain. Sorry. All right, so we have a quorum and we will proceed. All right. I have a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Okay, and who seconded? Adam Dorn seconded. Okay. So we will go forward. The first item on the agenda is a status update regarding Mr. Pollock and placement options. Ms. Serwa, can you give us an update as to where things stand, and then we can tell you where things stand on our end regarding Mr. Pollock?
So regarding Mr. Pollock having a cognitive and physical ability to live independently, there are no limitations. I did verify that with Sandridge. So as far as what kind of housing he can reside in, he does not have any limitations. He will not be referred to the ADRC for any functional screen. And that was as of the middle of May, and I've received no information or updates contrary to that.
And given the fact that you've heard that there's no limitations, you would not assume that anything is going to come up in the next couple of months that would suggest there would be limitations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I mean, if there were problems we would have heard by now.
Yes, that is true.
Okay. So we have been trying to figure out options. And as the committee knows, there was a open slot in a trailer we had in Oshkosh last week, but there was another court case where the judge ruled that open slot would be filled with another 980 resident. So that means that there are no openings at the current trailer. So then the issue is trying to find housing for Mr. Pollock. We have the research, as you know, in the past to try to find housing would be either to utilize a state vendor who serves as a landlord or create a county-owned residential option. Last week, the Winnebago County Board of Supervisors authorized a capital project and funding of $1 million+ to design and construct a residential facility for released 980 sex offenders. So given the fact that we have just gotten the go-ahead from the county board to the tune of over $1 million to essentially construct and design a residential facility. Mike Elder, the facilities director, is proceeding accordingly, as is the county. So that's what I can advise the committee regarding the situation. We will obviously continue to see if there's anything else available, but given the limitations, the geographical limitations, we are not finding anything. So we are doing the next thing, which is again, creating a county-owned residential option. Do any of the committee members have questions?
Marianne, I just wanted to clarify when I spoke earlier about physical and cognitive abilities. Obviously, that doesn't negate the fact that he is a serious child sex offender. So I just wanted to make sure that that was transparent. He is a serious child sex offender.
It's Mr. Pollock.
Correct. Yep.
I got a couple statements.
And Angie, can you let me know just how long was his detention and before he went to Sandridge, and how long has he been at Sandridge? So how much time did he serve, and when was the crime and all of this?
I certainly can
Yeah.
look that up right now, but it would take me a little bit of time. So I don't know if you want
Okay.
want to use the time for that, or if I can get that information to you at a different time, whichever you prefer.
Does the committee want to know about this? Do you have any?
Well, eventually. but-
Yeah, we will eventually like to get the specifics, but.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Kristen and Angie, I'd like to make a couple statements. This is Bill Topol. First one is that I have not received any notice of Mr. Pollock. And it's supposed to start, as you both know, it's supposed to start with a letter to the director of the 5142 board, which is an old way of talking about services that we provide at Human Services. I was guaranteed and assured by, I believe, Beth Dodsworth in the past that I would be receiving these notices timely. I have not received any notice about this individual. I've not received any notice about another individual that apparently is going to court that is going to potentially be released outright. I think there's something seriously wrong with your system, and I'm asking you both to follow up on why I'm not receiving these notices. I should be receiving them. That is part of the law. Secondly, I was informed that another member of your staff made misrepresentations of fact in court again this past week, namely that these misrepresentations were statements about what happens with Medicaid, what happens with functional screens, and whether or not somebody is actually enrolled in family care. These misrepresentations were clarified in our last meeting. I put in a complaint along with the director of family care, had a discussion with Beth and with the head of the other division. We thought things were going to get rectified, and statements were continued to be made incorrectly in court. And I found out last time that because that person is a certified social worker, that I can't report them to the ethics board. I'm going to go on record right now as letting you both know that if those misrepresentations happen in the future, that not only is this committee going to be very unhappy with it, but I will pursue either reporting to ethics committee if the person is licensed who makes them, or I will bring it higher up to DHS as a complaint because this is not right. You cannot continue to make misrepresentations of fact in court. I appreciate, Angie, that you said in this particular case that this person doesn't have any medical or psychological limitations. But if we find that out to be inaccurate, that's going to be very problematic. So I'm asking that in this case and in future cases, that you always check to make sure that that is accurate, because you are making a statement that we are relying on. So I hate to have it come to this, because last time when we met with your predecessor, we want to have a positive relationship going forward and working with you, but we just can't continue to have misrepresentations of fact, either to us or to a court. And we will pursue it if those things continue. And please find out why I'm not getting any notices, because that is the start of this whole process. That's my statement.
Just two questions. Bill, can you clarify what notices you're talking about so I can follow up on the appropriate information? Are you looking for the victim notification pieces, or are you looking for, what is it that
I
you're
am
looking
looking for a very specific letter from DHS that comes to the director of the Unified board, the 5142 board, that basically states that this person is eligible for 980 release and the court date on which that happened. Those notices were coming to me routinely in the past. I don't know why they're not coming. And Beth actually said, I believe it was Beth, or it possibly was Kristen. I don't think it was Kristen, but Beth had said that we should be getting notices. They should be coming, to my department. As soon as after the court determines that they're eligible for 980, which starts the clock ticking of our 120 days, I should be receiving a letter from DHS indicating the date of that court hearing and when that 980 is that 980 needs to be processed, because I get that to the court counsel, who then basically starts this procedure. In this case, Mary Ann started this procedure because she was told verbally by an attorney in another court hearing that this was happening and that this is how she knows to start this case. That is not the official way in which these cases and this committee starts.
Okay, I just want to clarify that it's not a chapter 980 order, it's a supervised release order, right? That's what you're looking for. They're already under chapter 980. I want to make sure I get you
Yes,
the
a
right
supervised,
information.
yes, that something has happened in the court that has now started the process where we convene this 980 committee. Whatever that letter is, and I'd have to go back and look up it. There's probably one from 2 years ago on our first case. But subsequent to that, I have not gotten any notifications of any of these people coming out. And Mary Ann, the only way she knows that this is actually happening is because she gets a, by the way, from an attorney when she's in court on a different case. That's not how this is supposed to go.
Okay,
You have
so
to have official notice.
yeah, the court is responsible via statute to provide you a copy of the order. So I want to make sure that I go to the right people to get whatever it is you're asking for. So are you saying you're not getting the court order?
No, I can tell you, we received the order in this case, but the issue that Dr. Topol is raising is the fact that he should be getting a letter giving us a flag saying, hey, there is someone who is up for supervised release. And he had gotten them in the past, but he hadn't. And in this case, I can tell you the prosecutor gave me a heads up, and this was not actually in the hallway. This was an email that he had sent to me and said that, oh, sorry, this case, we're going to have another 980 guy coming out on supervised release. That's for the case that we're here about today. And that was just an email. There was no official notice given to DHS. And he said in this email, and by the way, the order will likely be signed on a Tuesday. And this email was sent to me on Monday.
Okay, yeah, and I think he sent you the email and then sent me an email after that, because I wasn't aware of this order either until after you got it. So I think maybe the notices you're talking about were coming from Sandridge Records. Does that sound like where they were coming from?
The last one I got was about 2 years ago, so I don't really remember where it originated. I can try to resurrect it. I do think if you look at the 980 provisions, and have somebody there at Sandridge or DHS proper, like who's responsible to follow the 980 law? And there's notice in there to us of someone coming out. And it usually goes to the director of what's called the 5142 board. That's an old term. Human Services now has replaced 5142, but it still should be coming to me because I'm the 5142 board director on record.
And Angie, I can tell you in the past, I would contact Bill and say, okay, have you received any emails? Check with your mail staff to see if anything's, the support staff. So there's definitely a change. And as you know, we're concerned about, the time frame because it's a reduced time frame. So the sooner we have a heads up, the better off we are.
So what I'm saying, Angie, is that,
Our program doesn't send those out. That's why I'm asking.
Okay.
So,
Maybe,
okay,
maybe it is the records division at Sandridge, but I can tell you that DHS, from what Bill's telling me, has not received anything, because he has told all of his staff to send him any information on
Right.
this.
and it did start back, the first one we had 2 years ago. It started with, I got a letter. It was pretty late. It was after a month after the court had said that the clock was ticking. But I did get one, and then I passed it on to Mary Ann in that case. I don't know who it came from, but I think there's got to be some kind of a procedure for how these 980s are supposed to go at DHS, and I don't know. I mean, this was all because Mary Ann heard,
Right.
you
Through
know,
a
by the
prosecutor.
way,
Mhm.
you know, somebody else is coming out, and the clock is already ticked through what, 30 days anyway?
It's 60. Probably
60
close to
60 days.
60. And regarding this other situation, Bill is right. I was in on another case when, again, the prosecutor said, oh, and by the way, there is another person who may be coming out. And that other person, Bill never received any notice. We were in court just last week. And I was told again by the prosecutor, yeah, that person is going to be coming out. But again, that's not on this case, but it's on another 980 case. So,
yeah, the outright discharges, I have absolutely zero involvement in and wouldn't even have any idea who sends that, anything like that out. So I'll apologize in advance that I can't speak to anything that has to do with direct discharge from the institution, because our program has nothing to do with that. But if there were notices that were coming to you that are not coming to you, and I'm not familiar with them, and I'm on a lot of committees and I'm not aware of, other than the victim registration piece for notification letters coming out, I am not aware of them. So I will personally contact the records department and find out where or when or how those notices are coming out. The
Thank
only
you.
way that we know about these guys coming out ourselves in the program is when an order is signed. Sometimes the prosecutor that you're referencing is the first person I hear it from. He'll call and leave me a voicemail and say, hey, Angie, so-and-so, I'm going to stipulate next week, just wanted to give you a heads up. That is literally oftentimes the first time I know about it. So we don't receive letters or notifications either, other than when there's a heads up of a hearing and they're going to stipulate or agree to the supervised release order. That's often how we find out as well.
When we only have 120 days and we get notice, or we don't get notice, and then half of the time's expired, and then we go to court and we explain to them that we got no notice of this stuff. Had Mary Ann not gotten an email from this attorney, we still probably wouldn't know. And then maybe we get it another 30 days from now. We have like literally 30 days left. This is totally inappropriate. And if we go to court and we make that statement, I would appreciate, you know, you verifying that, I guess, and if you don't get notice, I mean, this is really serious. When we have not sufficient time to find a place, and then you state in court that, you know, well, we just didn't find a place in the time. That's not the whole story. The whole story is that we're not getting appropriate notice. And I know if you're saying it's not your responsibility to provide us notice, at least corroborate that we in fact didn't get sufficient notice. I would appreciate that, as opposed to in the past where you basically said, I'm just going to report that you're not ready to go, or that you're, you know, that I don't have anything to review. And I don't want that to repeat itself. I really would like us to be collaborative on this, and at least to state to the court appropriately where things fell apart. That maybe isn't your fault, certainly isn't our fault, but the court needs to be aware of that as an extenuating circumstance of this process if we can't get this thing fixed. Because I don't like having 30 days or 60 days to try to figure out a place that we should have 120 to find.
which is hard to begin with. Yeah.
So again, my comments, not a question.
Okay. So the plan at this point, as I said, now that we have the county board approving funding for this capital project, is to go to the city of Oshkosh, get their blessing. They have been made aware of this, but we basically have to dot i's and cross t's. And then we go forward with this project. That does not mean that we are not going to continue to try to, find housing per se, but we're doing both things to try to get housing for Mr. Pollock.
Oh, no, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So Angie, this is a question to you, is that in the past, we told you that we had a plan. The plan includes building a facility that probably is not likely to be ready within the 120-day window. You also were looking for properties in the past. You contacted, I believe, someone from Minnesota, and basically you had a different plan and opinion because we weren't ready to go. I mean, my question is that likely to happen again in this case?
I guess I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to. I don't know if this is another client's case or if this
Yes,
is,
another client case
okay,
where we had a plan to put in a different case, we had a plan to put in a mobile home that was not ready and wasn't going to be ready within the 120-day window. I recall you stating in court that you didn't have a property to review, so you couldn't recommend to the court whether or not to allow that placement to be there. Do you recall that?
correct. Without a physical residence, Department of Health Services cannot submit a supervised release plan.
Right. So what I'm saying to you in this case, we are working through the steps to have a place. This place will not be built in time for the 120 days. So I'm asking you, I guess I would ask you again, would you make the same statement again to the court?
That without a physical residence, we cannot submit a supervised release plan.
Right.
Yeah, yes,
Okay. So is it accurate that you will also be continuing to look for a property yourself to meet the requirements of this case?
no, DHS does not independently search for housing for individuals under Act 184. So I will not be seeking outside of this committee housing options.
Okay, has that changed? Because you did that once before.
Again, under Act 184, and I don't know what other case you're talking about or what the details of that case are, but under Act 184, DHS, unless ordered to do so by the court, does not independently look for residences.
Okay, if someone called you to tell you about one, what would you do?
I would refer them to the committee as I do in every other situation.
Can I ask you, has anyone called you and indicated that they have a property available in Winnebago County that might satisfy this person?
No, I have not received any calls from any potential landlord or business or any other sort of person that would be wanting to pursue housing currently in Winnebago County.
Have you received any emails or as opposed to calls, any kind of communication?
No, I have not.
And if you do, you would notify me and the committee if that were the case?
Typically, I would forward the inquiry, whether it phone call or email, onto the chair of the committee. In this case, Mary Ann, I would forward it on to you.
And Angie, how often does that happen? How often does it happen that individual vendors reach out to the state and say, we hear, you may have issues, we're available? I mean, does that happen?
It does happen, yes, from time to time. And whether it's a phone call or a voicemail or an email or a text message, I always, under Act 184, will refer them to the committee. Say, unfortunately, DHS cannot review this house. You have to present it to the committee. And I provide the contact information. And then usually I follow up with an email to the chair saying, this person outreached to me regarding a potential house or interest. Could you connect with them?
Do you have a list of those people who reached out to you so that if the committee needed to, we could reach out to them?
I can submit the updated landlord list that have worked with us or continue to work with the counties under Act 184. I'm not sure how much it's changed, but I'm happy to send you the list we have.
Thank you. I'd like that. Okay. All right. Discussion of items for next agenda. Angie, what do you think? What should be the next? I mean, essentially just continue to look for housing for this man and proceed with It's the capital project that the county has gotten the funding for. Can you think of anything else?
No, I think if you're, are you looking for other homes? I mean, in what way, other than me submitting you the list of landlords? My recommendation is that if you're looking for housing other way, if you have ads or you're reviewing things on MLS, to just keep an ongoing list, as I've always recommended to committees.
I think that's basically we've been doing or trying
Okay.
to. Yeah.
Yep, so just
But
maintaining
with
a
the
list of that.
understanding that we're trying to get this capital project.
Yep, any status updates on that, I know courts always appreciate, and that can be a discussion item just to show the due diligence of this committee's efforts in moving forward.
How much time do we have left? How much time do we have left? On that 20 days?
I think it was the order.
So Mr. Pollock's order is dated April 26th.
April 26th. So we have 60 days. Basically.
It's at the end of July.
May, June, July, August. 120 days. 36.
April 26th, May 26th, May 26th, June 26th, June 26th, July 26th.
That's
That's
90.
that's.
No, then July to August.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
36.
yeah. Okay, and then July, August 26th.
August 26th.
Marianne, will the committee be submitting some sort of update to court regarding the housing option, or has it already, or will they know, the court know that this project is underway in a tentative timeline or an unknown timeline, or?
I think we literally just got approval for this last week.
Okay,
So I think we can certainly send a notice to the court to show that we're trying to make efforts here to satisfy the statute. But yeah,
because I think what Dr. Topol was saying is that, DHS can't, was it questioning whether we would provide the same feedback about not being able to submit an SR plan? I think it's helpful when the court already knows that a residence is being sought. It's just not secured at this time. That way, when DHS responds that we can't submit a plan at this time, it's not as if we're being combative or not, we're disagreeing. It's just that we're reaffirming there isn't a house yet, and here's what the county committee is doing.
but again, the fact that 36 members of the county board voted to basically set aside $1,068,000 plus either a transfer from the undesignated fund balance or else an advance from the general fund to be reimbursed with a bond issue. Our county understands the significance of this, and hopefully the court will see that this is not just a drop in the bucket. This is a huge commitment that the county is making to try to satisfy our statutory obligations here.
Understood. Is it the and since we're in open session, I guess this question may or may not be able to be answered. Is it I heard you say earlier that it's a housing project for 980 is released on supervised release. So what is the county's expectation for using that? Is it, a apartment complex, or is that not even decided yet?
No, it is a situation involving essentially tiny houses. So essentially, the offender would have what would amount to essentially a studio apartment, their own 4 walls, kitchen, living area, bathroom, bedroom area. So they would be individual spaces for the 980 offender.
The one difference that I've heard, I'll speak for Mike because he's not here. The one difference that I understand, Angie, is that they are individual homes themselves, but that because of the design, they will have one solid wall that basically attaches them. So unlike an apartment where you'd have multiple walls in a hallway, there is no hallway, there's not multiple wall attachments, but because of the design, they're connected. But that connection is something like a wall that is solid doesn't have any ability to go through it. It's like a
shared wall.
Like a duplex side by side.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So it's not an apartment building by definition.
No, they're literally houses would be next to each other. As you said, like a duplex.
That doesn't have shared entrance, but has a
No.
shared wall for structural purposes.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
when I hear tiny homes, I think of something different. So that's why I wanted to clarify what that meant.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to say, Angie, it's not the typical tiny home design. It's not an apartment design. It's not a duplex design.
Mhm.
It's kind of something in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think what we'll just do is, our next meeting, we'll just see where things are. Hopefully, we'll have a date to go in front of the, city council and continue on. So,
Do you want to do the end of July or do you want to do the first part of August? Because we should give ourselves a couple weeks so you can draft the.
yeah, I'm thinking probably the end of July. Are there any days better for people than others or? Vacations, the week of the July 25th.
That Wednesday is pretty full for us. That's really all I see.
Want to do a Monday?
The 20, do you want to do the 20? How about July 25th, Monday afternoon? 1 o'clock? 1
It's
o'clock?
It's open for me. Chris, is that open for you? She's
That will
nodding
work.
yes. Okay,
That'll work. Sorry.
that's okay. I can read nods.
Billy, can you make it?
1 o'clock on the 25th,
Yeah,
yes.
and I can make it.
Yep.
Adam, you can make it? Right. Sheriff, can you?
Yep.
Okay.
Will the DOC be invited? Do we need to follow up in any way on that forefront or?
Well, I mean, they were there when we set this meeting, so. But yeah, if you're in regular touch with DOC, if you could remind them or let them know, that would be great.
Can you advise which DOC representative was most recently attending by chance, Marianne? There's a few
Yes.
people we work with in Winnebago, so.
Hans Ruefencht, Ruefencht.
Okay. I will outreach and just, if he
Thank
can
you.
be included on the invite, and I'll just reinforce that.
All right. All right, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second?
Yeah.
All right, so we are adjourned.
Do we need a vote?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Aye.
Angie, do you move to adjourn?
I apologize. I was just typing this in, so I don't forget.
Fine, I as well. So, okay, we are adjourned until, what did we say, June 25th at 1 o'clock.
July.
July.
I'm sorry, July 25th at 1 o'clock.
That's all right. Thank you, guys. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
This is information. This is.